Okay, guys, welcome back to Let's Get Freaky podcast. I'm very excited. We have two awesome guests tonight. We are joined by Leila and Tammy. How are you guys? Welcome to Let's Get Freaky.
Hi, thank you
Thanks.
for having us.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you for
you.
having us.
It's a pleasure. I'm excited to talk to you guys. What part of the US are you in tonight? Where are we tonight?
I'm in Texas. I'm just a little bit north of Dallas.
And I'm just 3 lovely hours north of Layla in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
Awesome, awesome. Okay. But do you guys want to give a brief description of yourselves, let people know who you are, and then we'll get into the freaky stuff.
All right. My name is Leila Olivarri, former member of the Warren Legacy Foundation. It's just a new change that Tammy and I and some other members have kind of branched off on our own. And I think Tammy sent you some links to our new site that we have going on. And then I'm also part of Para Hunters. That's my private team that I'm a part of.
Awesome.
And yes, again, also another former member of the WLF Foundation, but we have begun Intuitive Endeavors, and it is a Facebook group to help people with anything spiritual, paranormal, anything of that nature, psychic support. I also am a member of a team here in Oklahoma City called Afterlife Paranormal Investigations of Oklahoma. We do all different types of cases, residential, just locations, businesses, commercial. We've done a lot of stuff in the state as well as outside of the state. And then I am an evidential medium. What that means is that basically I can communicate with your departed loved ones in spirit. So that's a whole nother kind of realm of things that came about from my childhood and just kind of born with. So that's pretty much it.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I'd like to go to the start for both of you, if you don't mind. How this begun, how you got into this spiritual life, the paranormal. How did it start for you guys?
Mine started, when I was a child, I had a lot of stuff going on. I didn't really realize what was happening, but I was always interested in the paranormal. But I grew up in a really Catholic household, so we don't really talk about that kind of stuff, which is funny though, because my mom's from Honduras, and I would always grow up listening when we would go there during the summers and hearing these crazy ghost stories. But when stuff was actually happened, they didn't want to talk about it. But my mom would tell me stories about how, she felt her grandpa, her dad after he passed, and, people saw him. But it's funny because, like I said, we don't talk about it. So I was always interested. And then I had the typical story as a teenager that my brother, actually my dad, my grandpa, we were at my grandpa's house and he had an original Ouija board, like those old school ones. And he gave it to us because that's what you do. You give it to the little kids to go play with. So we took it home, and my brother actually took it more than I did, and he messed with it in his room. And we just had a lot of stuff happen at my house. It got to the point, it got a lot of creepy stuff. My brother actually to this day has that Ouija board. We can't get rid of it. He's thrown it away several times. It comes back. He's
Whoa.
had, yeah, it's crazy. That's what we had it in the room, and how it would start is you would just, that feeling you have someone watching you. The room it was in, you would have like, I would have friends come spend the night, and he wouldn't be in the room, and they didn't want to sleep in his room. They'd rather sleep on the floor in my room because they just weren't comfortable in his room. And he would hear banging on the walls, like all sorts of stuff. But I mean, like I said, he has it to this day. He keeps it in a cooler wrapped up in his garage. He just keeps it tucked away from everyone.
Wow. How does it keep finding its way back?
I don't know how. Like I said, he threw it away. One time he threw it away and it came back on his porch. He put it in the
That
trash
is
can on trash
wild.
can day. Yeah, trash day comes and he opens the door and it's sitting on his porch waiting for him.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm sure there may be a way that you can. I don't know if you can destroy them. I don't know if you should. I don't know if that's a good
Yeah,
idea. But I mean, yeah, that's wild that it keeps coming back.
I know. Now that I've gotten into it, I know there's ways to get rid of it, but he just kind of keeps it in his garage now. He doesn't, he's scared that if he does anything with it, it's gonna, someone else is gonna come up on it and find it, and he don't want to do that to anyone else, so
Hmm.
he
Yeah,
keeps it.
man. So when you first started using the Ouija board, what was happening? What sort of things were you experiencing?
To me it was typical kid stuff because I was, like I said, the typical gothy emo teenager. I also was into witchcraft stuff at the time, which I had a witchcraft book. I can't remember. One of my friends and I found it, and that also was not a good thing because I remember walking home and I would see some sort of shadow jumping from tree to tree following me. And I will never forget because my friend had the book and she had given it to me. And I remember had it and just little stuff like that. You'd see stuff out of the corner of your eye. And like I said, there was stuff also already happening at my house. So I don't know, I remember I'd be home by myself and I would be getting ready and the radio kept turning on up and down, up and down. And I went to go look and I literally saw the knob because it was the old school radio move up and down and it scared the hell out of me and I left. And I remember giving my friend the book back and I said, stuff's been happening. She goes, well, that's why I gave it to you. Like, well, thanks
Oh,
for standing
cheers,
it off and not
buddy.
saying anything. Exactly, exactly. And literally
Wow.
after that happened, everything calmed down. But now that I've gotten back into the paranormal because I stopped after a little bit when I had my kids. I know, I was messing around with stuff I shouldn't have. But
Wow.
ever since then, those personal experiences, I just always, what was that? What was out there? What was going on?
Hmm. That shadow that was following you. What did that look like? What was the?
It, like I said, it was like it wasn't even human like. It was like almost like a
Sounds like
spindly creature.
elementals.
Exactly. It was Michael and an elemental, and it would jump from tree to tree. I just remember seeing it jump from tree to tree, and it scared the hell out of me because I was like 13, 14 years old, so I didn't know what was going on. And
Wow.
like I said, I'd messed with something I shouldn't have.
Was that during the day that you saw that?
I remember it was like around dawn. It was like right, I would be walking home or going like it'd be, coming home from our friend's house or dusk or dawn, right about when it was getting dark outside is when I would see it.
Hmm. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. It like I said, it scared the hell out of me. I had to Another thing I had is, what we call a doppelganger is I was also getting ready and I remember no one was home but me and I remember my friend came in and I heard her, I don't know if we're allowed to cuss,
Yeah,
but
that's
she just
cool.
came in and said I just remember hearing, "Hey bitch, hurry up, get ready." And I was like, "Stop, almost ready." And I go out, no one's there. I mean, it was her exact voice. So I go and I go, "Look, my front door was locked. No one was even home. It was just me, but I know it was her." And again, it scared me because I didn't know what was going on, but it was her exact voice.
Wow.
And it was something she would have said to me.
Did you say that was your friend? Sorry.
Yeah, it was my friend. The
Wow.
same friend that gave me the book.
Oh man. Did you tell her about that? Did she know?
I did tell her about that, and we just kind of joked around. And like I said, she had had some stuff happen. We never talked about it, what she had happened with the book, but we both had experiences. And I honestly don't know what we ended up doing with it. But after I got rid of the book, like that shadow thing quit, I quit seeing that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's wild. Was that following
Yeah.
you? Was that like always around?
Yeah, I felt like it was. I felt like that's what was creeping me out because I saw it and then I kind of could feel it. You can sense something there, so you could sense it. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it was a combination of that and other stuff going on at the house, but yeah,
That
we had a lot
is
going on.
wild. I won't talk to it because this is your episode, but one of my friends was telling me recently that when they was around the age of 13, 14, they were in the forest in the UK, one of the forests. Oh, what's the name of the forest? It's one of the most haunted forests in the UK, and I forgot the name of it. Um, I told you I'm bad with names. I used to live there as well, and I forgot the name. But
Oh, that's cool.
they were in the forest, and she was with like older kids, and they were like experimenting. I think with like magic and stuff and doing things they
Yeah,
shouldn't have been doing. And she knew this, and she like her and her other friend left the group, and she said on the way home she had this like mad activity that started. This huge shadow came
yeah,
out of nowhere. She said all the cats in the street were going wild and running around, and
yeah,
there was just a weird, really weird feeling. She ran home, and then she could hear something in her house running up the down the stairs and knocking on her door all night. And that was her like
yeah,
one taste of it. And she was like,
yeah.
no, never again. Shut the door to all of that stuff. And she said she's never really had experiences since then. But similar sort of stuff, like they were like playing with spells and things like that. Epping
Mm.
Forest,
Yeah.
that's the forest. It's just come back.
Oh, okay, okay.
Epping
Mm.
Forest, huge
I
forest
have heard of that.
in London.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Wow.
So I think
Yeah.
there's two groups of people. There's people like her that they experience that and they're like, "Nah." And then there's people like us who are like, what was that?
Yeah.
I need a recording. I need a picture. I need evidence.
Yeah, for sure. Tammy, what about you?
Yeah.
What's your
Um,
start?
yeah, so my story is quite a little bit different. When I was little, very little, I would have a recurring dream every night. And I had a bedroom that actually had like a glass sliding door. And back in the day in the 70s, your parents would have like a wood stick they'd stick in there to like block the door. Okay, well, like that's really gonna keep anyone out nowadays, but back then that was the thing. And I would have this same dream, this recurring dream every night, and I would hear this ungodly vibration type noise, and then I would be out of my bed as I was sleeping. It was, and I assume this was dreams, and I that's what I'm gonna just say. I'm gonna go with it was dreams, but don't know because I had an interesting experience. But I'd be in the field behind our home, and it's like I was in a trance or something, and above were these three orangish, fiery red, like ships. And you could peripherally look around and see other people in the field singly doing the same thing, just looking up at this, but you couldn't speak or move, and everything was telepathic. And I would have these dreams every single night. It would scare me. And then one evening, I actually woke up the next morning and had like my feet were dirty. That scared the living tar out of me as a small child. And what do you do with that? Do you go talk to your parents? Do you say, hey, am I sleepwalking? Is something going on? Like, how does this happen? Instead of that, I just kind of went into a shell and got scared and decided I was going to move my room from the upstairs bedroom to the basement bedroom. That was not a good idea. So me and my sisters were playing in the basement, and they were at the little kitchen and playing in their little pajamas, and I was running through in mine, and I saw my first full-bodied apparition. There was a man, completely see-through, standing right there in my basement. I can tell you he had on tattered blue jeans, a red t-shirt, and a ball cap. And he had his hands like this, and he was just smiling, this smile. Scared the living daylights out of me. I hit two stairs on a 15 stair landing, yelling and screaming at my father that there's some man in our basement. I'm the horriblest, worst big sister because I just left my little sisters down there, just took off.
Don't
Fight or
blame you.
flight. I'm out of
Don't
here.
blame you.
So that was my very first experience. And then
Wow.
after that, it was of course, my father ran around the house trying to locate this individual. We lived in the country. There wasn't a lot of homes around. It was just a home to the right and left and a big field behind us and the street. And nobody ever found anyone anywhere. And the crazy thing was this man, he was see-through. So I could see the glass beyond him and the fence in the yard. He
Wow.
wasn't solid, but he was. It was very, very unusual.
Mhm.
And
Could
when
you
I
see
tried to,
color? Could you see color on him?
I could see color, yes. And I tried to explain this to my parents, and of course it was, oh, you have an active imagination. You're just imagining all these things. This can't be. And as time would go on, I would have more synchronicities and get messages and share these with my parents. And they would say, oh, my dad would always say like, a version of you're just crazy in a sense. It's an active imagination. You're crazy. It's all good. There's an explanation. There's always a logical explanation. So I just kind of rooted down in that there's an explanation and that I shouldn't be seeing these things or feeling these things or hearing things. From that point on, every night in my bedroom, there was something in my room, something or things. They never approached. They just kind of stood back. I describe them to people now that I'm older and can understand what I saw, more like Celtic monks. And they would just kind of stay there and just watch. And I slept with the covers over my head as a young child, from 8 to 12 until we moved out of that house. And then we spent a year in Texas, and then we moved back into the same house in St. Louis. This was in a suburb of St. Louis. And basically from that point on, it was kind of normalcy. But I shut it down. I kind of protected myself. The fear allowed me to come up with creative ways to make myself believe that I was imagining these things, coupled with, your family telling you, no, this isn't normal. You're just imagining it. So I shut it down for a good number of years, although throughout my entire adolescence and then into my early 20s and 30s, I still had many, many things happen that I could not explain. My grandmother was very spiritual. She was Native American, and she would even tell she at one point even told me, hey, when I pass, I'm going to come back and talk to you. I'm going to come back and talk to you from the grave. And oh, okay, grandma, whatever. And she did. When I was 21 years old.
Wow.
So my husband and I were celebrating an anniversary on the 4th of July, and we were on a beach in Hawaii. And for a moment, it was like time stopped. There was no time. It was like I was in a vacuum. There was no air, there was no breeze, there was no sound. Fireworks are going off and people are all around and it's chaotic and we're on the beach and you can hear the waves. But for one moment in time, I heard nothing. It was like I was in a vacuum. And then I heard her voice in my right ear say, please tell your mother that it's lovely here and that I am fine and I will see her again one day. And then all the noise came back in, everything was back. And I turned to my husband and I said, did you hear that? Did you just hear anything? And of course no, you're the fireworks, the ocean, you're crazy. What's going on? So
There's actually a lot of noise.
exactly.
Wow.
So I've had many, many experiences my whole life. Shut everything down until about 7.5 years ago. And my father passed. And with his passing, and I share this story pretty much, this is my blanket story of my awakening and kind of when I went back into mediumship and figured out who I was and that I did have this ability and that I needed to share and comfort and help others with what I do. But he was very ill. He had actually, well, to digress, I had gotten a message a year prior, in my right ear again that he had less than a year. And at the time, I didn't even know who he was, but instinctively, I knew it was my father. And about a couple weeks later, my mom had called and she had said that my father was having some issues and that they'd been taking walks and he had been starting to walk backwards instead of frontwards and they didn't know what was going on and that they were going to go to the doctor and he had been diagnosed then with normal pressure cephalitis, which is nothing but normal, but it's basically swelling of the brain. And he did not have that. That was not what he actually had. But I thought, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I just got this message. I know it's pertaining to him, but I don't know where this message came from. But I heard this. I know I did. And I kind of didn't tell my mom about it. And then as time went on, they realized and they figured out that he actually had stage 4 cancer.
Oh man.
So once that was diagnosed and treatment had begun, I did decide to tell my mother about the message I got. He had less than a year. He did in fact make it 11 months and some days. So that was accurate. Um, when this happened though, my father, we had gone down and seen him the weekend before, and we had planned to return the following weekend, and he was at home on hospice, with caregivers and my mom being there to support him and my sister. And we had planned to head back down straight after, we got off work Friday, got some sleep, gonna go right back down. And that evening, that Friday night, it was around, 2 o'clock in the morning. I was trying to get work caught up and just get myself so I could, go down and have the weekend without my computer having to take it. And I was very, very, very nervous and very apprehensive because I just felt like I should have already gone. I should have gone. And I'm laying there in bed, 2 o'clock in the morning, and feeling the presence of someone else. And I knew someone was there. And my dog, I have a little Westie. You might have saw him in here a minute ago, but he was kind of milling around. He actually sleeps kind of down by my feet, and he got up and he went, and moved over to the other side of the bed as if someone had just sat next to him or pushed him out of the way, but no one touched him. And I watched my mattress, an air mat, that kind of memory foam. I
Mhm.
watched it come up when the dog moved and go right back down in the shape of a butt. And I'm
Wow.
just sitting here looking at this and trying to grasp what I'm seeing and make sure I'm not, I'm literally was pinching myself like, you're awake, you're not asleep. What is going on? And the phone rang. So that took me out of that moment. And I picked the phone up, and my sister and my brother-in-law and my mother were on the line, and they were wailing, and they said, he just passed.
I found the cursed object. It's a mirror.
And I started crying. My husband woke up. What's wrong? Dad just passed. Oh my gosh, what do I need to do here? No, nothing. I just need to go be with my thoughts. I need to go speak to him, just have my moment. And I moved to the living room that's off my children's bedrooms. And we all sleep with our doors closed, just kind of a habit thing we, around here we do. And I'm sitting on the couch and I'm kind of talking to him and saying, Daddy, I'm so sorry. I had the feeling I should have left earlier. I had the feeling I should have been there. And I'm so sorry I wasn't there. And my daughter's door swings wide open. And as the door swings open, I'm thinking that I woke her up with my crying, and now I've got to explain to her what happened and that we won't be leaving in the morning, and this is all just too much. And so I went ahead and walked down the hall to cut her off at the pass, so to speak, and get her back in bed. And she was in bed asleep across the room, and the door is wide open. So now I'm putting the crumbs together. Now I'm like, we have a breadcrumb trail here. I saw something sit on the bed. Now this. Then my son, before I can even get out of that thought, seconds, my son's phone starts playing really loud. And now I'm like, what is going on? So I'm following. So I go to his room and I open his door, walk in. He's asleep. The phone is playing a song across on his computer desk, very loud. And I said, oh my gosh, I know you're trying to give me a message. I just don't know what it is. I can't hear you. Tell me what you're trying to tell me. And my dad was a Vietnam vet. And he actually always would say that if we bury him in an expensive casket, he'll be so upset because he's just going to deteriorate and go back to the earth. And so we shouldn't spend the money. He was a very frugal man. The song that was playing on the phone was Man in the Box. And it just took me to my knees because I knew it was my father. I knew he was trying to communicate from the afterlife. And I fell to my knees and I heard 3 words in my right ear, and it was, you were right. And my dad was not, he was a man of God, and he had gotten baptized at the end, and he was religious and he believed, but he didn't always. And my dad and I had many, many discussions about, is there anything left after? Do we just die? Do we go on? Does the soul continue? We'd had these arguments and these discussions, and I had always told him that I know it does. I don't know how I know. I just know instinctively. I just know. And he would say, oh, yeah, okay, I don't think so. So you were right. That was my awakening. That was my answer to the spirituality, to where I sit now. And that's how it began.
Wow.
And right around that same time of my father's passing, maybe 6 months prior, a local girl that I know had actually posted on Facebook, and she was starting a paranormal team. And she said, is there anybody in the local area that would want to, be on a paranormal team? At the time, I'm not even a practicing evidential medium. I've just kind of shut it all down. And I just said, me. And she reached out and she said, we have an event on this Saturday. Why don't you come see if you're a good fit? And I've been on that team ever since. And so it's really odd how the universe just put everything in place.
Yeah.
All of it.
It's meant to be. Wow. That gave me goosebumps, man. Thank you for sharing that. Wow.
It is. It still gives me goosebumps every time I say it.
Yeah. When you experience something like that, it's just you just know, and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Are you guys? I don't know if you guys are hearing another voice every now and again. I know it's not you two, but I keep hearing another voice.
I've not heard anything.
Are you getting that?
I have also. I was going to actually interrupt and say something earlier, but I didn't.
I didn't know if it was me, if I was just going a bit mad, but I can hear another voice every now and again.
But I have my headphones in too, but I'm not hearing anything.
I did, Leila.
You're hearing
You
it.
did? Okay.
You're hearing it. It's like
Yeah.
there's another
It's
voice.
like a.
I can't make out
Yeah.
what they're saying. But
I can't either.
I hear it every now and again. I'm like, what?
Yes.
No, I'm not hearing it.
Are you guys hearing that, or am I just hearing that?
Tammy's hearing it.
I
I'm
heard
not
it.
hearing it.
Is there
I
any?
heard it when Layla was talking earlier too.
Yeah.
So,
Yes. Is there any
mhm.
tellies on or anything? I mean,
Mm-mm.
My daughter's in the room, but she's not talking.
wow.
It's
Yeah, she's
weird.
not
Yeah,
saying anything.
Layla.
That
I
is.
heard it, Layla, and I was gonna say something, but I was like, I'm not gonna go there.
I thought I've got to.
We have a guest.
That
I don't know
that
who.
does lead to a funny story though that we
Oh
have to
yeah,
tell
let's
you.
tell that.
We were on when we were with the foundation, when we help people, we have people from all over. So we get
Mhm.
on Zoom kind of like we are here. So we hop on and we have like Tammy's Oklahoma, we have someone in Alabama. So we're
Mhm.
doing our interview. We have an intake interview and it's very extensive, the questions we're asking. So we're going through and we kept hearing something and we're like, we finally kind of like you did, we're like, is anyone else hearing a growling? And then Tammy's like, I hear a growling too. And we all hear a growling. And it ended up being one of our girls' dogs that was snoring in the
Oh,
background. But we all were convinced that we heard something and we caught something like it's happening right now.
It was
wow.
so funny.
But it didn't sound like a little snore. It sounded like a
No,
little grr or something. We were like, oh, we heard it. We all heard it.
I thought
it
you was going to tell
totally
me
did.
it was some evil entity or something. That's what I thought you was going
No, it was the dog.
to. Wow.
No,
That's
That's kind
I
of,
heard
with
it.
that,
I
yeah.
heard it. I heard it, and I didn't want to say anything because I'm like, I'm not trying to
so,
steer
so,
that direction.
so, so right now we're talking and we can hear another voice and it's not
Mhm.
anyone else that we know. Like there's not a telly or that's
Nothing.
that's wild.
That's crazy.
I
And
hope
I
it
hadn't
comes
heard
through.
anything,
I hope it comes through on the
right?
recording. I'm sure it will.
That'd be
Uh,
I'm
cool.
sure that it'll be there
ah,
because I heard it.
you do get weird stuff like with technology, as you guys know. Like you get,
Yeah.
I've had weird things come up on my screen and stuff that I can't explain. And
Oh yeah.
when you look into the paranormal, it looks back. I think that's
Yeah.
something I say quite a lot on
No,
this
that's
show.
definitely true. That's
Yeah,
definitely true.
We always joke around that when we're setting up, trying to get ready is when everything happens. And
yeah,
you're like, no, nothing's on yet. And then when you finally turn everything on, you're like, nothing's happening. What
yeah.
happened? We have like
But
EVPs that you can actually hear.
yeah, but the weird thing is that voice has stopped now. I don't know.
Now that you called it out,
Since we've
it's not
started talking about it's
happening.
not happening, we'll have to keep an ear out. But
I'm like
that
looking around.
that's very strange. That's very strange. I was thinking, is that just me hearing that, or is that?
No, and the first
I
I
time
just,
like
I
looking
heard it,
around to see,
the first time I
Tammy, do you
heard it,
see
it
anything?
sounded no, but the first time I heard it, it sounded like people talking
mhm. Yeah,
like one person like whispering.
yeah.
Yeah. I was like, "Ew, that's kind of creepy. I don't like
It
that."
sounds like there's another conversation going on, but you can't quite make out what they're
Right.
saying.
Oh, like murmuring? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that is wild. Okay, well we'll keep an eye out on that. Man,
No telling.
let's
And
go.
it
This is
could
what
just
we're
be
here
some
for.
of our it could just be some of our angels or our loved ones popping
It
in
could
saying,
be.
Mhm.
"Oh, look, they met each other," or whatever.
So Layla, how about you? So you had them experiences as a kid where you saw the shadows and stuff like that. What was the moment for you that you was like, wow, this is real, basically, that your eye-opening moment?
I mean, I've had a lot, like I've had a lot of experiences. And it's just like a culmination of all of them. Because like I said, when I saw like the knob go up and down, my brother, I think, and I've been told before too, I also have abilities that I've kind of tamped down. And this is the year that I'm kind of, Tammy and a lot of my other
Yeah.
friends are helping me open up to myself to this. Because I closed myself off to this because of what I did as a child. And, my kids, just like Tammy said, that my family was like, no, nothing's happening. And it's just little things too. I remember being in my room and I would be scared because I would call them my friends. I'd be like, Mom, I would go running to my mom. I remember calculating, when you're a kid, how far your mom and dad's room is that you can run and get to. And you're like,
Hmm.
all right, I would remember running to get to the room and telling them that. And they're like, no, there's nothing there. So I wouldn't think about it. And actually I just remembered it. I was an investigation with another friend and she had a memory that came to it. But I'm like, I remember seeing my friends. So, I've had this ability since I was young. My brother has kind of has a similar story as Tammy, where he woke up one night and he woke up crying, telling my mom to go check on. He thought it was my grandpa. He's like, call grandpa. We called my grandpa. Everything was fine. And then we get a phone call from a family in Honduras, and we had an uncle who had killed himself that night. And my brother had seen someone. He was young. He was probably like 10 or 11 years old, and he saw someone saying and talking in Spanish, saying "Estoy bien, todo va a estar bien," which is "I'm okay, everything will be fine." So
Wow.
he was young and just saw an older person, was thinking it was, the first person he thought of was my grandpa because that's who we were closer to. But it was my uncle, and it was right around the same time that he had passed that my brother had that happen. So, all my
Wow.
life I've had stuff happen, and I just know. It's just that, just like Tammy says, it's just something
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
when I have stuff, I've had stuff happen, kind of like when you're saying about the voices or stuff going on. To this day, we go out investigating. We all have stuff that comes home, and we bring it back, and you just kind of like, okay, stop. I'm trying to sleep right now. The dogs are going crazy. Leave me alone, and you go back to bed, kind of things. But it's just the feeling I've had, and I've always felt that I've had family. I'm also on my dad's side Native American, and I've always just felt that I've had family there watching over me. I mean, there's some situations that I kind of laugh about that I shouldn't be here today because some of the situations I put in myself in, I had someone else watching out for me. My guardian angels, my spirit guides. I had people watching out for me.
Yeah. Wow. Do you think it's like sometimes when a person passes, they 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 can find someone that they know is gonna see them and feel them at that time to get the
Yes,
message
and
across?
yes, and they also don't choose the person closest to them sometimes because that person is in grief and that person wouldn't be a good receptor at the time. So they perhaps choose someone that can proliferate and get the message to the family as
Hmm.
opposed to someone that is in such grief that they can't accept
Yeah.
the receipt of it. So that probably is what happened there, Layla, for sure, is
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he was an
Because my
open
brother
he was
wasn't
an
that
open
close.
vessel, and you're right. Your brother
Hmm.
could get that
Yeah,
message and receive it without misinterpreting the
yeah,
message.
Yeah. It's interesting. And like in most cases, this stuff starts when you're a kid. It's very rare that
yeah,
you talk to someone that didn't have these sort of experiences when they was a kid. A lot of people,
yeah,
some people have these experiences, and a bit like you said, Tammy, you sort of switched it off a little bit and sort of carried on having experiences. But
Right.
it's always there. You can't ever completely get rid of it. But
Right.
until you really embrace it and like you open up to it, that's when
yeah,
a big wave comes in. I've experienced that myself just doing this podcast. Like I've always had experiences and always been interested in the paranormal like all my life, and
yeah,
it's sort of I'll say I maybe switched it off. I think I switched it off, even though I've still had experiences and I've still got like a track of things that happened to today. But as soon as I started doing Let's Get Freaky podcast, it was like I was noticing everything. And I know that's probably because you're thinking about it all the time as well, but
yeah.
you definitely do start experiencing things going on around you that you might not have picked up on before. It is interesting.
No, I think you definitely do. Yeah, I think you definitely do. When you go out to, different locations or you're talking to people like we're talking to, it's just something that, you're opening yourself.
Hmm.
And I think like also if you have abilities, we've talked about this before, you're like a beacon. If there's spirits going by, like if there's one going by the outside of the house, they would see a bright beacon, like where Tammy is, where you are, where I am, and they would know to go there. And that's another reason you experience more
Hmm.
activity.
Yeah. It's like everyone's, it seems that everyone has got these abilities to open up to this sort of stuff, but it's just some people just naturally, for whatever reason, are more open. I don't know why that is. I
Yeah.
don't know if it's something to do with just being open to it or whatever. I don't know why, but there just seems to be, like you guys, that experience a lot of things constantly.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
know.
one
Yeah,
of
I don't
my
know if it's you're more open and more in tune. Tammy, what do you think?
I don't know, but I like to describe it. Cindy Kaza is one of my mentors. I've studied under Cindy, and I will tell you that she describes it like we can all tap the keys on a piano, but not all of us are concert pianists.
Hmm.
And that's exactly what it is. And I think it's a combination, though. I think everybody has the innate ability. I do agree with that. But I think there's more that goes into it. I think there's a spiritual part of it that like your intentions are in the right place. And then there's a studying aspect of it that you've like looked into, studied things and you understand the mechanics and the protections needed and different things that are modalities of the spiritualism. But then I also think on top of all of that, then in addition to that, you also there's just people that are more susceptible and open to it, that in the universe will make time for you when you're ready. When you're ready.
Mhm.
And that's one of the things that I'm very grateful for, because if I had, in some of our cases, Layla, that this is going to mirror it, but if I had started to go into things and do things when I was a kid, for instance, my dad, he was a huge horror movie, just every horror movie known to man, he would
Yeah.
watch every horror movie. And I remember being a kid and being told, "Oh no, yeah, you get out of the room. Rosemary's Baby, get out of the room. You can't, you guys aren't supposed to watch this. You're too young. The Exorcist, you're too young. Get out of the room." Of course, we all snuck and watched, and
Mhm.
around the corner, and but those are the things that terrify you, that bring the fear, and then the fear begets itself. And if you're in fear, you're on the losing side. You're very vulnerable. Your soul is very vulnerable. So there have to be that good level and balance of protection, so that you actually know how to clear your aura, and you know how to ground yourself, and you know how to do those things so that you don't fall prey to the vulnerability and the fear, because that's wherein the dark lies.
Mhm.
So in a way, I got sheltered from it by shutting myself down. And at the same time, through my father and him watching horror movies and all these things that like kind of prep you in a sense for this different world, this dark side, it kind of gets you used to seeing that, so that that doesn't scare you, so that you can
Interesting.
put the protections in place.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting, but I think the universe makes a way for everyone in their own
Yeah.
respective way of how to get there, and how to follow through and be the people that we're supposed to be as
Hmm.
souls on this 3D earth.
Yeah. Going back to when you were having the dreams, and you're not sure if they were dreams or if you're experiencing, what do you think possibly could have been happening there?
Oh, dare I say alien abduction? I don't
Hmm.
even know
That's
what to
that's what I'm
say.
thinking.
Yeah.
It's funny because I heard Layla, try to help me remember who was the Chris Bledsoe. Um,
Yes.
he he has a I listened to his story the other day.
Hmm.
And frankly, I was taken back a little, because I was like, what he describes is exactly what I saw in my dreams. And so it kind of slapped me in the face a little bit. And I thought, holy cow, he saw this in the daylight. I'm just thinking I had dreams, you know?
Hmm.
And maybe it's a construct of our subconscious, but maybe it is real. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? And maybe I didn't experience that firsthand, but maybe I astro traveled.
Yeah.
That's what I think
Yeah.
happened.
Interest. In a lot of cases, I talk to a lot of people with abduction
Hmm.
experiences, and in a lot of cases, it does seem to be connected to the dream state. Like it is a confusion whether they are dreaming or not. Like and
Hmm.
yeah, like you said, you woke up with the muddy feet and stuff. Like you hear that so often that people wake up and their clothes are on back to front, or or they haven't got any clothes on and they did have pajamas on when they went. You hear that very often. Things like that. The did you say the monks in your room? Were they
Hmm.
monks?
Hmm. And actually, I've had an experience with that as in my adult life. Um, Again, it scared the crap out of me.
Hmm.
But I am in the home that I live in now, and this was probably maybe 2 or 3 years prior to my father's passing. Had gone to bed, normal night, nothing crazy going on, and went to sleep. My husband is laying to my left, and I'm on the right, and I woke up and there were three Celtic monks standing on the side of my bed. One was very tall, one was kind of stocky and shorter, and then there was one that was even shorter and thinner. And they had their bell sleeves, and their hands were within their bell sleeves, like so, like this, to where you couldn't really see, their hands. And their faces were drawn down so that it was shadowed, so you couldn't see faces. So just but they were brown. Like I could see the color. It wasn't black, it was brown. Um, and they just stood there. And I mean, I remember waking up and literally pushing my body back into my husband so hard I almost shoved him off the bed and screaming a blood-curdling scream because I thought there were three people literally standing on the side of my bed.
Mhm.
And my husband wakes up and says, What? And I'm like, You don't see him? You don't see him? And I turn to tell him, You don't see him? And I look back and they're gone.
Whoa. And were they the same monks that were in your room when you was a kid?
Look the same.
Because that sort of coincides with the abduction as well. Like,
Yeah.
people wake up and see sometimes three entities, whatever the amount of
Mhm.
entities, I'll say entities, and they appear in different forms. Like it seems they're
Well,
not
and
always
I mean,
the stereotypical grey or
yeah.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, these do look like monks. They're not, they're not alien. They're not non-human. They're monks.
Mhm.
Um, but what I guess I would say about it is the way I've trained myself to explain this is basically I'm seeing through time and space. So perhaps for just a moment, just a split second, just a fraction of a second, a door opens, a window opens to you're seeing something that isn't actually in our 3D world time,
Yeah.
but you're
Mhm.
seeing another timeline or you're seeing another existence.
Yeah,
Like a
yeah,
dimension.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like two different times possibly coinciding somehow, and they're
And
seeing
maybe
us,
they're
you're
just
seeing them.
keeping tabs on me, or maybe they're just making sure I'm okay, or, it doesn't have to all be bad and ugly and scary, and
No,
it
Mhm.
yeah,
doesn't.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I've never felt threatened. I've been scared just because naturally, if you wake up and you
Yeah.
see this, you would think you're being robbed or your house is being
Yeah.
invaded or,
Hmm. Hmm.
but
Yeah.
that's your logic brain. But when you really can't wrap your hand or your head around it and you're seeing this, then that's the only way I can really equate it because it
Hmm.
wasn't a feeling of fear. It was just, what am I seeing?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I've woke up in the house that I'm in now and seen like the shape of someone standing by my bed, and
Mhm.
it's terrifying. When you wake up and
Mhm.
one of your
Yeah,
kids is
yeah.
standing there, it's scary.
Oh, yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
You know? So to see something like that, and a little while ago I woke up and I thought my wife was sitting up crying, and I got up and I sort of went to make sure she's all right. I've gone through her, looked down, and she's just sound asleep. But I saw the shape of something there, like
You
100%.
saw something. Yeah.
So and that's that, and I was just shocked. Then I was just like, "What the heck? Let's go back to
Yeah.
sleep." But
And I
Exactly.
think our subconscious and our sleep state is incredibly like just to study that would be so interesting to me. And
yeah,
I'm not a PhD or anything like that. So I'm not eloquently speaking here, but I, definitely what you could have seen would be maybe an astral state,
hmm,
Yeah.
of her consciousness.
very true. Yeah, very
Yeah.
true. That is. I
Yeah.
never thought of it like that, but that is very true. Could be. That is interesting. Yeah, I love it when someone else gives you another opinion, and it's
Another
like,
perspective to it.
yeah, because I never thought of it like that. But that is very
Yeah.
because it looked like her, like it was
Yeah.
her sort of shape. I thought it was her.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that is
Could have been
interesting.
her. Yeah.
Yeah. Layla, what about you? Is there anything else you've sort of seen? What was the next sort of thing that happened to you?
I've had so many things. I mean, the
I
same
know.
thing, and
I
a
want it.
lot of
I
it's
want it
been at
all.
my,
I
yeah.
want it all.
We could be on here for five
I know.
hours.
Let's go.
Let's
Let's
go.
go.
Let's go.
As long as you guys don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, kind of the same like y'all said. The same thing at my parents' house. And the funny thing is, my mom is still at the same house that she's at that I grew up in. So it's the same house, but she finally had a priest come and bless it, and I haven't had anything a lot go on. But I remember I stayed the night there for some reason, and waking up and I saw like an old crone just right in front of my face, kind of like the old like you see that when you're
Hmm.
paralyzed, the sleep paralysis, and it's
Hmm.
kind of like what you said. It's like your brain doesn't want to. And it did startle me. And I was like, what the hell? And I was like, ah. I just went back to sleep and I just kept sleeping. But I mean, it was clear as day right in front of me. Like she was right in front of my face. And it was my old room that I was in. I was like, always stuff happening at my parents' house. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. So what was
But I
that?
mean,
What did you say that was? That was. like a face.
It was like a crone to me is all I can think of, like an old witch, like an old,
Ah, okay. Yeah,
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 like
yeah.
an old lady, like an old woman kind of thing.
Like think of the witch in Snow White,
Yes, yes,
you
Oh
know,
yes,
with the
like
man.
that.
pointy nose and yeah,
Yes, exactly.
that
Yes.
old hag looking. Yeah.
I mean,
Hmm.
and it was like right in my face. I just remember I woke up and I was like, whoa. And then I was
That's
like,
terrifying.
yeah, and then I just went, and it's always like I said, a lot happened. I mean, there's so many things that I could say that's happened. One of the biggest things when I first started getting into the paranormal that that I know it gave me a clue that I have some sort of abilities is we went to this place here in Texas. It's up the road called Frontier Village, and it's actually a pretty cool little place. And they've gotten a bunch of old buildings from the area that it's in. It's called Denison, and so it's like just old historical buildings, and they've made it into this village. So some of our houses, some of them's like an old church. So we got to go, and it's the first time this place had ever been investigated. And one of the guys who owned the place, it was, oh, he didn't own it. There was volunteers for each of the buildings, and they were kind of like in charge of the building. So like, make sure it was clean and all that kind of stuff. And he was taking us around, and there was one particular house that they kept having a lot of stuff go on. Like there was a mannequin, and they would put the mannequin, and every single night they would get calls from the police that that there was someone in the house because the mannequin was moving and was in front of the window. So the police kept getting called and they would come and it was the mannequin. And so we go to that house and you could just feel it. Like you guys have all been there. You can feel that heaviness. And I remember I actually got scratched there. I remember feeling something and I looked down and I was like, I just got scratched. And then I had an app or something on my phone and it somehow like one of the back pages turned itself on. It was like a stupid ghost app and it had turned itself on. And that had happened. So we go to the next house and we had one of my friends, Teal, who's on the team that I'm with, Teal Gray, one of the para hunters. She's a medium, and she's one
Yeah.
of the first ones that told me that I had abilities. And Aaron, we had gone upstairs, and I remember we are going to put a recorder, and Aaron out of nowhere goes, "Don't go upstairs. There's a little boy there that you're going to make him mad." I'm like, okay, with no respect. I come back downstairs, so we're sitting around, and Aaron, I look over, and you can see like a difference. Like he's got color like we do, and he just goes white, and he slumps over and he could barely talk and he's pointing at his Bible and I was sitting right next to him so I could see what he was pointing at. And he's just pointing. I'm like, guys, there's something going on with Aaron. I never met the man in my life. So Teal just calmly looks at me. She goes, well, you used to be a shaman in a former life. She's like, so you go pray for him. I was like, what? And she's like, well, I said, I don't have a cross. Well, my daughter happened to have a cross that my grandma had given me that was blessed by a priest. So I went and grabbed the cross and I don't even remember to this day what I said. I just pray over him and I have it on camera and it's like this, he snaps out of it and he starts looking around and we immediately get him out of the house and he starts calming down. And then he starts telling us a story that he was on the oil fields before and that he was suicidal and that when we started doing this investigation that he had a bullet in his jeans that he was carrying around because he was wanting to do it. But after that and after whatever happened,
Mhm.
he said he quit going to that place and he's like better. He's going to church and all this stuff's going on.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. And that's when
Wow.
I didn't want to just investigate, but that's when I wanted to help people. That's when I was like,
Yeah.
I want to help people. I don't want to
Hmm.
just go and it is interesting, to study and everything, obviously. That's amazing, but I want to help people. To
Hmm.
me, seeing that I made a difference in someone's life, that's when
Yeah.
I realized I wanted to do that.
Yeah. No, that is special.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
pretty cool.
And that's cool that you just naturally had that ability.
Yeah. I
Whatever you
mean,
said, like that's
yeah.
amazing.
I remember I just took the cross and I just started praying. I don't even know, like I said, I don't remember what I said to this day. And
Yeah.
you could
Wow.
see, and it's crazy because, like I said, I have it on video and you can just see it happening. It's
Hmm.
crazy.
Yeah.
I think he just had an attachment. He'd been there too long at that place.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
That's the scary side of this paranormal investigating, is that is a possibility. There is a danger as well.
Yes.
well, he was such in a down low place in his life, it made it easy for something to latch on to him. That's why, we always say you have to be in the right state of mind. If
Hmm.
you've just had a fight with your wife or, something's going on with your work or
Yep.
anything, you just need to know not to go into something.
Yep.
Hmm. Yeah. Man, interesting. I've got to ask you because did one of you something to do with the goat man? Have I got that right?
That would be me.
The Goatman
Yes.
Bridge.
I made sure I wrote that down because I was like, I've got to ask you about that. Can you tell
Yeah,
me
it's
about that?
yeah, kind of like what Tammy said when I started getting back into everything. Becky Vicker, she's the one that does the tours out there, kind of had put a thing out on Facebook saying, I'm looking for a tour guide. Is anyone interested in helping? So my daughter and I were like, yeah, we want to help. So we went out there and we ended up helping be tour guides for about 3 years. We went out there every Halloween and, in Texas, it gets really hot in the summertime, and there's a lot of snakes, poisonous snakes out there. So during the summer, we couldn't go out there, but during the cooler months, we would always go out there and do tours. And man, that's a cool place too. I'm gonna tell you. And I think that's one of the places where it's not necessarily where I think something did happen, but I think it's more people that go out there and they're bringing stuff and they're conjuring stuff and they're bringing it out there.
Yes, yeah. I think that happens
But
a lot in some of these haunted houses that people go to.
Most
yeah,
of them.
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, there's
yeah,
obviously I think there's activity everywhere, but
yeah, yeah,
when you're constantly putting that energy into a place,
Yep.
and
exactly.
this is not my theory, but I've heard other people say this, and I sort of think
Yeah.
there's truth to it that we create something.
Hmm.
Yeah. There's because when I would go out there, the funny thing is, we didn't go out there on Halloween because it was so crowded. It would be ridiculous. I mean, we would always see these people and they're always doing rituals or with their Ouija boards. And, these kids don't know what they're doing, just like I didn't know what I'm doing. So you don't know. And there's people that do know what they're doing and they're going in there with that bad intent. So I absolutely believe they're calling that in.
Yeah. Man, what can you tell us about
Very true.
the goat man? Has anyone
The goat man,
seen the goat
so
man?
the goat man is actually a good person. The goat man was Oscar. So Oscar was a goat farmer and he was a black man. He was African American and he was selling goats and he put a sign on the bridge that said this way to Goat Man's Bridge. And the white people took exception to it and they ended up hanging him from the bridge. So that's where the legend comes from. So they when he was coming back home, they hung him. And when they come back to bring his body down, he's missing. He's gone. The body's gone and they can't find him. So they panic and they go down the road and they kill his family and they burn down the family because they didn't want him to recognize them. So the goat man, it's actually crazy. His name is Oscar because my friend, the one I told you, Becky, she did extensive research in the area. There was a colony out there, there was a settlement and everything. And there's not a record of exactly where he lived because with the African Americans back then, they didn't really keep records. So there was no record. If they owned land, they wouldn't keep track of it. But we would done several EVP sessions and it's crazy because like I said, I was out there in 3 years and his voice would always come through and he was always watching out for us. But it's crazy because it'd be different nights and it'd be his exact voice. And there was one night we were doing a
Wow.
session and you can kind of see like lightning in the distance and our equipment kept going crazy. So we're like, you know what? Let's be safe. Let's get out of here. And his voice kept coming through. We left and a tornado came through that night. So absolutely had talked to
Whoa.
him. Yeah. But there also is some bad stuff out there. There's a bad spirit. We call him Steve. And when he came out, it's crazy because we would get all sorts of communications from the goat man there's different spirits out there. But when Steve came, it would be dead silent, nothing. No one else would come through. It would just be him. And then that's when we'd be getting the cuss words, the fuck you, get out of here, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely had a lot of stuff going on
Man,
out there.
interesting. Very
Yeah.
interesting. So how did you guys connect? How did you guys meet? Where did it start for you two as a team?
The foundation, the Warren
Yeah.
Legacy Foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I came on and I was the regional director for the Southern region. And then Tammy came on. When she came on, I was the assistant regional director. And then our regional director had some stuff that, he just was a career change. So he had moved on. So I moved up and then I asked Tammy to be my assistant regional director. And we've been friends/sisters ever since. We've met in person, done some
Yeah, we've
investigations together.
hmm we
Well,
did a really amazing investigation and can't really disclose the location if I'm going to give you information. But it was really, really, really interesting and it did involve a suicide. It did involve a place that was an old hospital slash trauma center slash boys home type situation. And upon getting there that evening with Layla and several other people, we had EVPs, class A EVPs just flying like crazy. Um, to the point of ridiculousness. And when we checked back with the owner and asked what we had gotten, the word was, "Oh, well, that's the caretaker. What do and it was definitely akin to just investigating in general has made me realize upon situational things like suicide and things like that, those things do and can open doors. They can
Hmm.
open portals, they're there, and then that only invites in low level or other things. They can become trapped. An entity can take charge and trap others. That's the situation that was going on in this location. And this location was heavy. I mean, Layla can tell you,
Yeah.
like, when we would walk down, because they had part of it that they made into like a fun house, like a haunted house during the Halloween seasons. And when you got to a certain location, it was like walking into sludge
Yeah.
immediately. Like, whoa, take a step back. We don't need to go any further. We need to back up for a second. Like something's pushing back way too hard, and
Hmm.
it's not safe. Like you could just feel it, feel the energy. And that location, there was a little girl even, and we had gone by and there was a little swing and it was still, and we had walked by and I had said, "Oh, what a cute little swing for a little girl to be pushed on." And we had it later in the night move just a little bit on its own, but we got an EVP. "I like your hair," like right after I walked by, as if they were looking at us, and commenting on it on us. Um, we had a message, very clear EVP, that the person, and I don't want to say the name, but the person could get them when they're in the haunted house. And it was just like this whole story came out of it, basically, in a well-rounded manner, that this entity that had actually harmed himself, done him, harm to himself, his soul had split and fractured, and he had become the kid that he really was, and then this controlling entity that was controlling all the other souls there.
Wow.
And he just was misunderstood and never given the proper care and time and attention to being a kid and having someone love him. And we were able to communicate with that entity and bring him back to whole and make him actually reunite with himself and move on all the spirits.
Wow.
And
See, I
it was
don't,
really, really incredible.
yeah. So I don't think I've heard that either, where you've got the same entity but detached from itself, like two versions of itself. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
That's trauma.
Yeah.
It's trauma. Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
it's kind of because you're the same, just like we always say, you're the same when you die, you're still a human. So if you think, to protect yourself, like we have the schizophrenia, the multiple personalities, your
Yes.
brain does that to protect yourself. It's the same in death.
Hmm.
It's the
You're
same.
doing
Yeah.
what, yeah.
Yeah. Man, it's very interesting. So what I did write down the new um journey that you're on now, but I can't even read my writing. So what are you doing now? What's the goal now? What's the future hold for you guys?
So right now, the group that Tammy was telling you about, it's a psychic support group right now, but it's pretty much open to anyone. Anyone who has abilities that they don't know or they think they do and they don't
Mhm.
know and they're
Yeah.
scared. They can come to our group for support. We do a thing weekly that's called "What's in the Box," where we'll put in and we'll have like a piece of jewelry or something, and we'll have everyone as a group project read and figure out what's in the box, and then one of us will do a reveal on it,
Hmm.
It's just
and then we'll do.
remote viewing exercises to help the psychic support, help the psychic side and help enhance their abilities and understand them.
Hmm.
And we teach a lot of protections and controls, and so that they are understanding how to center and ground and focus themselves at all times for protection, because that's the biggest thing I think,
Mhm.
that people don't understand. People think that, oh my gosh, I'm having these experiences, and they call a paranormal investigator, or they go to their local church and they're, "Oh, pray over me, something's wrong." You have to take back the authority and the control yourself.
Hmm.
Yourself.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Nobody can wave a magic wand and it disappear. It doesn't
Yeah.
work that way. Um, if you're not in the right
Yeah.
place spiritually, it's never going to leave you alone.
Hmm.
And when you have
Interesting.
abilities, you have to learn how to protect yourself and how to block. Because if you
You
don't
do.
block, you're always open.
Yeah.
You just always have an open door and they're always invited in. You have to learn to block.
Is there something about our intention as well that's important?
Oh,
Like our
100%.
intention, like what we really want to achieve and do and stuff, that's important. Is
A
that right?
hundred
I
percent.
Yeah, I 100% believe in intention and manifestation with your
Yeah,
intentions. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
yeah.
And if you're out there doing things for, and and I'm not talking about your show, Tommy,
Hmm.
but if you're out there and you're just look at me, look at me, look at me, and you're doing things all about the ego and you're, riding on the backs of others to elevate yourself and then treating people like dirt and those intentions are known, okay?
Hmm. Oh yeah, for
You
sure.
know,
Yeah.
Hmm.
they're known
Yeah.
and that thing we always hear about karma is a bitch.
Hmm. It's true.
It is.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is. And if your intentions aren't in the right place, it's definitely going to come back and get you at some form or fashion.
Hmm.
So,
Interesting.
That's what I love about our new group because there's how many is there? Five group of in our core, but we're
mhm,
all, we all have the same intentions, we all come from the same place. So we have this core
yeah.
group and it's just an
Hmm.
amazing group of ladies.
Yeah.
And like I said,
Good.
we're just wanting to help other people and help everyone
Yep.
learn.
Good
Yeah.
energy. That's important.
It
Good.
Yeah,
is.
Good energy.
yeah,
So what?
100%.
What was the name of that again, so people can find it? Because my handwriting is shocking as well. So I'm bad with names and I can't write. So
It's
what
called
was it?
Intuitive Endeavors,
Interesting. Okay.
and it's on Facebook.
And I'll put the links in the show description so people can find that. Interesting stuff, guys. I want to ask you both. You may have already told us, but your freakiest experiences. What is your freakiest experience? You may have already told us because you've told us some freaky ones. But
Getting touched by a spirit several different times. Which one do you want?
I
I
want them
know,
all.
I
I want them
know.
all.
He's like everything, everything, everything.
I want everything.
Okay.
What stands out as
Um,
the freakiest, the scariest?
there's definitely two for me that were the scariest. My team and I were at a location in called McIntyre Villa, and we had gone to bed, and I think this was maybe our second trip there. And we had gone to bed, and when I first started investigating 7 years ago, I wasn't yet where I am today. Obviously, I have now studied under many mentors. I've continued to educate and learn and broaden my horizons. And even at that, I still don't have all the answers, and it changes every week.
Hmm.
So it's always constantly ebbing and flowing, and like, oh, I didn't think about that. Oh, I didn't think. How do I feel about this? So I think if that's healthy to always wonder and want more information. But we were at this location and we went to bed and we were in the main bedroom and my team lead was sleeping in the bed. Brooke Montoya was sleeping in the bed and I was to her right on a cot. And it was about 4 in the morning and I'm messing around. I fell asleep a little bit and then my podcast ended. And because I always sleep with something,
I do
in
that.
because yeah, because otherwise I'm listening to every little creak in the house.
Hmm.
And so I had my podcast end, and so I woke up and I reached up on the dresser to my right to change the podcast and found something different and put it on and now I'm wide awake, of course, and I started feeling uncomfortable. Started feeling as if somebody was there. That same feeling like someone's here, I'm being watched, there's someone here. And within a few seconds, I felt a full on hand come down on my stomach like this and try to grab me. And I shoot up out of that bed and start screaming, Brooke, 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 Brooke. And she's like, oh my God, what? And I thought, something just touched me. I grabbed my recorder. I'm like doing an EVP session. I mean, I'm like on it. And, but I'm terrified. And I thought, no one is ever going to believe me. I really hope that we caught something on camera because no one's going to believe what I'm saying. And we went down to look at the camera, and on camera, it's funny because you see something, but it's so fast. It happens in real time so quickly that it's almost faster than the eye can detect.
Hmm.
And so I had this theory that if we have to raise our vibration to meet the spirit world, and the spirit world has to lower their vibration, perhaps we need to slow down the tape and go frame by frame and see if there's something we're not seeing because the vibration is so fast.
Hmm.
So we slowed the tape down and went frame by frame. And when you go frame by frame, and it's on our Afterlife Paranormal of Oklahoma website, I mean, Facebook page, if you slow it down, you literally see before I move, you see me laying there totally still. Then you see the blanket pushed down, and then you see two handprints, like two palms,
Whoa,
clear as day.
that's
And
wild.
I was so thankful though that we could find that and we had the footage and because that made my entire team say, "Oh my gosh, no, they were like, we totally believed you." But I was like, "But now it's
That's
concrete.
proof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we have proof."
Wow. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, because you know what you've experienced, but that just validates it even more.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And I had another time, and it was in Texas. It was not at Mineral Wells Hill House, but it was at Gainesville Hill House. And there's supposedly a spirit of an angry cowboy there, and we just call him Angry Cowboy. And I'm the type of investigator that when I go in, I immediately greet the house, tell them who I am, why we're here, set my intentions, not here to harm you in any way, just here to learn your stories, let them be revealed through your actions, um, and kind of go about it that way. Let me get a drink real quick. Sorry.
That's cool.
There's the cough. Sorry.
You've done really well. You've not coughed once.
I know. I've been trying.
I know. You've done good.
I know. I'm still suffering a little cold. But so I had gone in and said, hello, Angry Cowboy, how are you? Guess who's back? And we're back to, do more and learn more about you. And that evening, we got ready to go to bed. And my daughter was actually sleeping behind me on the couch, and I was on the floor on an air mattress. And then another team member was in front of me, which was directly across from our camera system that we'd set up. And as we're getting ready to go to bed, we've had a very eventful night. We've had a lot of activity and equipment going off, and just the weather was weird. It was just a very strange evening. And the cameras went down. And the cameras go down, and I say to my other teammate, I said, "Jill, did the cameras just go down?" And she says, "They all did, every one of them." Anytime we've ever experienced that, there's been a reason. There's been an energy flux. It's not, the power's still on. It's not, there's nothing there. It's just the cameras went down.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as that happened, I saw a man standing behind the camera. And I said, "Jill, I'm don't want to scare you, but there's a man standing right behind the camera." And the cameras came back up, and she said, "Oh, great. Thanks for telling me. I'm closest to this." And I said, "Well, it was just really weird. I didn't want to say anything, but it's just something, the timing was very impeccable there." And as no sooner did I give him attention, he turned the cameras off again. So now the cameras went off a second time. And I'm thinking, oh, okay, this is going to be a long night. So we went to bed, and there was a train that was just one house behind hers that comes through. And I'm a big proponent, and I will say this to anyone, but the vibration of a train in the earth kicks stuff up. It does. I'm not sure why, but it is vibratory. It is frequency. It's all attached.
Mm-hmm.
So as we go to bed, the train would come through like on the hour, and the train would come through. I would hear two knocks on the ceiling above me, which is Angry Cowboy's area. And then the train would come through, and I'd get an uncomfortable feeling. This happened 4 times in a row. And then 4 o'clock in the morning, this time, train comes through, you hear 2 knocks, I get uncomfortable, and somebody laid right behind me, like spooning me, head to foot, bigger than me. And on camera, you just see my arm go up and like this, like, "Nope, get out of here." And I'm saying, "Get out of here. You can't be here. This is not allowed. You're not, you're not my husband, get out." But when we go back and review the footage, we caught again what seems to be a shadow comes up over my head.
Whoa.
And then my blanket pushes down.
Wow. When you saw the figure, what did he look like?
Can we pause?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, of course.
Sorry.
That's okay.
No, you're fine,
No
Tammy.
problem. You've done really well.
I feel bad.
No, not at all.
Tammy, you're sick, for God's sakes.
Yeah,
You're
no,
fine.
You're a hero, man.
I tried so hard.
You
You've
haven't
done
coughed.
good. You've done
Yeah,
amazing.
you've been really poorly. So you both have it. You was poorly last week, wasn't you? So
Yeah, yeah.
you're both doing great.
Okay, let me get it under control.
Don't
I was
look at
trying
it.
to
Don't
do
look
that
at
thing I talked about. I know.
it.
I was trying to do that thing I talked about where we don't.
I know.
Okay, I can handle it. Okay,
You
we're almost
okay?
done.
You got it. You got it. You
Okay,
got it, Tammy.
I got it. I got it. So he was tall and he was careworn.
Hmm.
So his skin, I could see wrinkles. Oh, so sorry.
No, don't say sorry. No, you're fine.
Are you gonna edit this?
I'll, yeah, yeah. Don't worry about that. I'll take it out.
No, we're gonna have 5 minutes of you coughing, Tammy.
I'm gonna put this. I'm gonna put this out as a reel on Instagram. Just you cough.
It might be. Maybe
I'm gonna
it'll
do
get a
that.
lot of
We'll
attention.
put music in the background to
Yeah,
it.
we'll jazz it up. We'll jazz it up a little bit.
Elevator music.
Don't worry about
Woo.
that.
So, yeah, so he was really tall and he was careworn. I could see wrinkles. Um, to describe him like, okay, like maybe like John Wayne
Oh
in his
wow,
older years.
wow. And could you see like
A
color on him
big
as well?
guy. He was more gray and black. He
Hmm.
was more kind of one-dimensional, like just kind of gray and black, like a almost shadowy than he was in color.
Wow, interesting. Cool experience though,
Mhm.
but scary. Thanks for
Scary.
sharing that. Wow. Layla, what about you? Is there any standouts that we've missed so far?
And I was in a Magnolia Hotel in Seguin here in Texas,
Mhm.
and it was after we were done investigating. It was probably about 4:30 in the morning, and I was in the bed. So the bed where I was in the bed with my daughter. So the room we were at was right before the unfinished part of the house. So part of the house they had refurbished, and the other part wasn't. But you can go and investigate. But I remember I was on my phone and I'm facing the door, and I sit there and with my own eyes watch the door just open. And then I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, it must be my daughter getting up, but it's not that. So I reach over and she's dead asleep next to me. And then I just hear like all the way around the bed, like running feet, all the way around the bed for like 2 minutes, and then it stopped.
Whoa.
And I'm like, of course, when I'm in bed, no equipment going, everything, but it was just the coolest thing. And the funny thing is later I asked my daughter about it, and she said, yeah. She was, I heard it and I knew it wasn't you. She's like, so I just put my headphones on and turned the music up and went back to sleep and ignored it.
Wow.
So
Well,
yeah,
she's
yeah.
braver than me, that's for sure.
Oh,
That's
she's
exactly what
pretty brave.
Wow. I know that's difficult. This is difficult, but any idea what that was?
I don't know what it was. I just think, I mean, I'm sure it was just something that was there, the spirit that was curious to see what we were doing and was just looking around. And it sounded like, honestly, like little kids running. So it's
Hmm.
like little kids that, had coming and running through the house. That's what it sounded like. They were just running
Yeah.
around the bed and ran back out the house. It just sounded like little kid spirits, is what I think it
Wow.
was.
Interesting.
They were just playing.
Yeah. Interesting. You guys have had some cool experiences
Yeah.
and scary but cool. But
Mhm.
thank you so much for sharing them tonight. I've
Well,
really
thank you
enjoyed
for
listening
having
to it.
us.
We had some weird stuff at the start where possibly there were voices. I don't know what that was all about. We'll have to check. We'll have to look back. I don't know what that was, but we'll see.
And let us see if we hear anything.
Yeah, it might not have even picked it up. I don't know. Hopefully it's picked it up. But there was definitely some weird voices going on there. But interesting stuff, guys. Thank you so much for coming on. Share. You're welcome back on any time. I'd love to. I feel like there's more we can talk about. When the cough's gone, we can go again.
There we go. I had a great time. Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much. Can you guys tell us where they can find you?
I don't really have any pages. I'm just on Facebook or Instagram, TikTok under Leila Olivarri, so you can look me up and find me there.
Awesome.
If I can talk, I don't know if I can. I'm still
It's
trying
okay.
to get over
That's
this
okay. No,
this
you've done really
episode.
well.
Um, I'm Tammy Christine Medium. on Facebook. And then also just wanted to plug, if I could really quick, we
Hmm.
have a online gallery this coming Saturday that tickets are on sale for on Eventbrite called Connections of the Heart.
Hmm.
And me and then one of our girls from our Intuitive Endeavors group, Jen Rose, another medium, will be giving readings to people. So
Oh,
if
okay.
anyone wants to check that out.
This is probably going to be out just
Oh,
after
it'll be
that.
after?
Oh
Okay,
Oh,
yeah,
I'm
no worries.
sorry.
yeah.
I'm
That's
sorry.
okay.
I've already got my Thursday episode ready, but
No,
I'll
that's
But
I'll
if
put
you
it
okay.
if you
out.
keep an eye out on the page, they do
We'll do
events like
it
that.
again. Yeah,
You do
I'm sure we'll
lots.
do things again.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Keep up the great work. I'd love to get you guys back on. I feel like we can talk more. There's more stuff
I
we
would
can
love to
talk
come
about for
back. We'd
sure.
love
But
to come back.
you're welcome back anytime. And let's do it again. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank
All
you. And
right,
I'm
thank
sure we have
you.
more stories to share
Yeah,
too.
I want to
Yeah,
hear them all. I want to hear them
for
all.
sure.
Guys, thank you so much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, share it where you can. That's a great way to support us. And we'll be back very soon for more freaky conversations. In the meantime, stay safe and keep it freaky. Thank you very much, guys. See ya.
Thank you.